noticed, we're going to talk about the front rack and what to do if you cannot perform a front rack. So let's just look at the position first so we can at least establish what we're talking about. So here's the position. The elbows are up where you have from elbow to shoulder, and that line is parallel to the ground. So there's almost like little laser beams shooting at the wall in front of me or at your face right now. I'm shooting you. Try to dodge it. Can you dodge that? Anyway, the thing that here is that people have restrictions a lot of time in their wrists, so their hand will either do something like that, where they'll only have 2 fingers on the barbell, or they'll end up doing something like this, where their elbows drop. And we've even seen a starting point when people come into CrossFit where their elbows are here. So if you have these restrictions where you can't get your elbows all the way to a front rack, there's some things that this would benefit you in, i.e. a clean. So if you're catching weight from the ground, catching it on the shoulder, you want to be able to get your elbows as high as possible so that weight is sitting on your shoulders like so. So this is the position you're trying to get into with yourself in a front rack with your hands here and then catching right there. The weight is sitting on my shoulder right now. So if you do have these restrictions and you find yourself being unable to do that where your elbows can get there comfortably, what we're going to talk about is what to do if you can't get into a front rack. So let's look at a couple things. There's flexibility usually, and then there's some joint restrictions. Usually it's going to either be in the wrist, your elbow, or your shoulder. I think a great starting point is something you'd use a band like this for, and you would take it, you put your hand through the band, you're going to wrap your hand around and grab it, and then what you want to do is get your palm facing up towards the ceiling, you keep your elbow facing straight in front of you, and you kind of step out and let your shoulder relax. So from a side view, you'd be here, the palms facing up towards the ceiling, you let your shoulder kind of pull back and relax. And then you just sit here. What it's doing is it's helping compress your elbow. A lot of times people will complain about having this heat in their elbow, or it's kind of a burning sensation, a lot of tenderness. So if that happens to you, just get out of it, get back into it, maybe do 2 minutes at a time. I actually, when I first started CrossFit, this was the first thing I did for 2 years. I'd wake up every morning and I would do it. I remember a story one time, we were going to some party, my wife was downstairs in the car waiting, and I was like, I gotta stretch real quick, I gotta do this. And I remember my shoulder just popping into place, and ever since then I've not had an issue with a front rack. So this actually does help out a lot. You don't need to do a whole lot of time on it, but the practice of doing it is worth it. So that'd be a good starting point. I think a second one you could work on is with a PVC. And so if you grab it like this out in front of you, and then you tuck your elbow on the inside, so you come here, now you're in this elbow up, inside position where your hand is out, and then you take the underside and you actually pull it across the body. So you're kind of winding up. So just another view, it's here, my elbow goes on the inside, and then I pull and wind up through my shoulder. So if you have some issues in the shoulder, what you can do from here is actually pretty cool. You can take this PVC and kind of rub it on the outside of your tricep, and you can even get down into the lat, which is nice. So you just rub all those muscles out with the PVC, and just work up towards the elbow. You can run this whole line, and then that can help out a lot. So you do the same with the other side, tuck that on the inside, tuck the elbow, and then start rubbing out those muscles, get up into the shoulder, and just work that PVC there. So that can help out a lot if you have some issues in the shoulder. Okay, so if you find yourself having a restriction in your wrist and you can't flex it as you get into that front rack, this would be a good way. Take the band down to the ground, put your hand through, you take both hands, you pull it taut, and then this is right above your wrist. You put your other hand to lock down so that your palm stays down, and then you leave your arm straight. You want to leave your arm straight, and then start to lean out and get some of that muscle right back here stretched out, and then different body angles. If you come over top of it, that's going to feel different. If you come right here, straddle it, that's going to feel different. So you're just trying to work out any of those restrictions in the wrist. And you're asking your body to flex this joint back. So you're asking it to go here, that can really help get into a better position. You can see I worked up my right one. That right arm is actually quite a bit higher than my left one right now. So that's the benefit to the flexibility drills. But if you can't do a front rack, the benefit is you need to have that position for certain movements to be more efficient in the movement. If you're sitting down there with your elbows low, it's just not starting point wise a good position to start from for certain movements. So some of these flexibility things can help. And then if you have any of these, you have like a little ball for rubbing out the muscles, or a lacrosse ball can even do the same thing, and you just kind of work the muscles surrounding the elbow so that it can close off better. You can rub both sides here, so palm down, hit the inside of the arm, palm up, hit the outside of the arm, and then you can do the same for the tricep. Just rub that ball right there and get those muscles loose. A lot of times people just have a really bad restriction when they're here. You can touch them on those muscles surrounding, and they're just way too tight. And so that can really help as well. Just get some of those things to loosen up. It's almost like a self-massage is what you're doing, and that can work wonders for this. So if you can't do a front rack, you want to work on these simple drills. If you go into the box at your CrossFit box, or if you're at home, pay the money for a band like that. It's super cheap. Get a lacrosse ball. That's super cheap. A PVC you can get from any construction store, material store, and there's not a lot of money involved here, but the benefit for your body, the health of your joints, and being able to stay injury-free in training, I would say it's worth the money. So that's our encouragement. If you've ever had a restriction in that position, we'd love to hear from you, give you some other ideas if you want, so comment below. If you're following us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, comment in those ways, message us if you need to, and then if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, we would say do that, give us a like, share these videos, and we'll talk to you soon.